11 cycles of patrol duty teaches you exactly two things. First, smugglers are predictable. Second, the moment you think you have seen everything is the moment the universe decides to prove you catastrophically wrong. I am Third Keeper Vin, by the way. Orbital Enforcement Guild, Outer Rim Division. And before you ask, yes, the pay is terrible. Yes, the hours are worse. And no, I did not sign up for this expecting excitement. I signed up because I needed a job, and I was moderately good at not dying. The qualifications for this line of work are surprisingly low. Third Keeper, we have acquisition lock, Bren announced from the tactical station. Bren was my second, a hulking Vrelian with 4 arms and exactly 0 sense of humor. Perfect for the job, really. Vessel is not responding to hails. Of course they are not, I muttered, manipulating the control interface with my 3-fingered hands. They never respond until we threaten to disable their engines. Standard procedure, Bren. Fire a warning shot across their bow. The plasma bolt streaked through the void, a brilliant blue line that passed close enough to their hull to make their sensors scream. My crew, all 6 of them crammed into our patrol craft, watched their stations with the bored efficiency of people who had done this dance 1,000 times before. Pale, our navigator, adjusted his optical enhancers. They are slowing down, Third Keeper. See? Cooperation through superior firepower. It is basically diplomacy. I activated the comm again. Unknown vessel. This is Orbital Enforcement Guild Patrol Craft Verity. You are in violation of Galactic Mandate 7734, subsection 12. Prepare to be boarded for inspection. Resist and we will disable your ship permanently. Comply and you will only lose a few hours of your day. Your choice. This time, the comm crackled to life. Understood, Verity. We are powering down weapon systems and opening docking port 3. I blinked. Actual immediate compliance? That was unusual. Normally we got at least 5 minutes of arguing, some creative cursing in various languages, maybe a half-hearted attempt to run. This was too easy. Torin, Lix, you are with me. Bren, take point. Pyle, Grant, Dova, monitor from here. If anything goes wrong, you disable that ship and call for backup. Clear? A chorus of acknowledgements followed. We suited up, grabbed our equipment, and cycled through the airlock. The magnetic clamps engaged with a solid thunk, and we crossed into their vessel. The interior was, well, it was exactly what I expected from a smuggler's ship. Worn deck plates, flickering lights, the smell of recycled air that had been recycled about 10,000 times too many. But it was clean, organized. No signs of immediate danger. 2 humans stood in the cargo bay waiting for us. I had seen humans before, of course. Everyone had, ever since they started making noise in the outer colonies about 15 cycles ago. Tall bipeds, endoskeletal structure, forward-facing eyes like predators. They came from some backwater death world called Earth or Terra or something equally primitive sounding. Class 9 hazard rating, the kind of place where the weather actively tries to kill you and the local fauna considers everything else food. But hazard ratings are mostly about environment, right? Not the actual inhabitants. These 2 looked harmless enough. The older one, gray fur growing from his head and face, stood with his hands visible and empty. Probably 60 or 70 cycles if I was guessing human aging correctly. He wore the standard jumpsuit of a freight hauler, patched and repaired in a dozen places. His eyes were this strange blue color, calm and tired. I am Captain Henley, he said in decent Galactic common, only a slight accent mangling the vowels. This is my crew, Kira. We are transporting medical supplies to the Outer Haven colony. Our manifest is available for your inspection. girl, Kira, stood slightly behind him. Younger, maybe 20 cycles if humans aged anything like my species. Dark hair pulled back in a functional style, wearing similar work clothing. She did not say anything, just watched us with those same forward-facing predator eyes. Brown hers were. She looked bored, uninterested. It was hard to read human expressions. Medical supplies, I repeated, taking the data tablet Henley offered. To Outer Haven. That colony is not under quarantine, so why are you skulking along the Terra exclusion boundary? Fuel efficiency, Henley said with a shrug. The route is longer, but requires fewer jumps. We are running on a tight budget. I scrolled through the manifest. Antibiotics, surgical supplies, diagnostic equipment. All legal, all properly documented. Too properly documented. This manifest is perfect, I said slowly. Nobody has a perfect manifest. What are you really carrying? Henley sighed. Third Keeper, I promise you, we are hauling exactly what the manifest says. No weapons, no contraband, no illegal biotech, just medicine for people who need it. Then you will not mind if we inspect your cargo personally. It was not a question. Be my guest. Cargo Bay 2 has everything sealed and stored according to transport regulations. We moved through the ship, scanning as we went. Torin handled the technical equipment, running spectral analysis on bulkheads looking for hidden compartments. Lix checked life support and environmental systems for signs of concealed passengers. Bren kept his plasma rifle ready, those 4 arms making him look even more imposing than usual. Everything checked out. Everything was exactly as documented. Which made me more suspicious, not less. Then we reached Cargo Bay 2, and I saw the problem. One container, medium-sized, with a physical lock on it. Not a digital lock, not a biometric seal, an actual mechanical lock with a key. What is in that container? I demanded. Henley hesitated. Just for a second, but I caught it. Personal effects. Not part of the commercial cargo. Open it. Third Keeper, I assure you there is nothing in there that violates any regulations. It is personal property, which under Galactic Mandate 3892 is protected from search without probable cause. Oh, so now he wanted to quote regulations at me. I felt my cranial ridges flush with irritation. You are in restricted space with a locked container refusing inspection. That is probable cause. Open it, or I will have my officer cut it open. The old human looked at the girl, Kira. Some silent communication passed between them. She shook her head slightly. Henley turned back to me. I cannot do that. And that was when Bren made his mistake. The fatal, catastrophically stupid mistake that changed everything. He raised his plasma rifle and pointed it directly at Henley's chest. Open the container, Bren growled, or the old human becomes a learning experience about compliance. I opened my mouth to tell Bren to stand down, that threatening lethal force was completely out of protocol, that we had procedures for this exact situation. I never got the words out. Because Kira moved. One moment she was standing there, looking bored and uninterested. The next moment, she was not there anymore. She was everywhere. A blur of motion that my eyes could not track, that my brain could not process fast enough to understand. Bren's rifle clattered to the deck in 3 separate pieces. Bren himself hit the floor half a second later, all 4 arms bent at angles that made even me wince. He was not dead. I could see him breathing, but he was very much unconscious and very much disarmed. Kira stood exactly where she had been before, calm, unruffled, like absolutely nothing had happened. The silence stretched for 3 full heartbeats. Nobody, she said quietly, her voice carrying this edge that made my survival instinct scream. "Points weapons at Henley. Not today. Not ever. Are we clear?" I looked at my tactical officer crumpled on the deck. I looked at the disassembled rifle. I looked at this human girl who had just moved faster than my eyes could follow. "Crystal clear," I managed to say. And I realized, with slowly dawning horror, that we had just made first contact with something far more dangerous than any smuggler. We had just threatened a human from a death world, and she had shown us exactly how gentle she was being by leaving us alive. My hands were shaking. Actually shaking. I am a trained enforcement officer with 11 cycles of experience, and my hands were trembling like a hatchling facing their first atmospheric entry. "Torin," I said carefully, keeping my voice steady through sheer willpower. "Help Bren to the medical station. Lix, back away slowly. Nobody make any sudden movements." Kira had not moved. She stood there, relaxed, like breaking apart a military-grade plasma rifle and incapacitating a Vrelian combat specialist was something she did before breakfast. For entertainment. "I apologize for that," Henley said, and he actually sounded sincere. "Kira gets protective. It is a human thing." "A human thing," I repeated flatly. "Captain Henley, I just watched your crew member move faster than my optical nerves can process. That is not a thing. That is a physics violation." "No violation," Kira said. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "Just physics you are not familiar with. Earth is a 1.3 gravity world. Our reaction times adapted accordingly." 1.3 gravity. I did the calculations in my head, then immediately wished I had not. That meant every movement, every action, every single day of their lives was spent fighting against 30% more gravitational force than standard galactic norm. Their muscles, their reflexes, their entire biological structure was built for that. "Show me," I said suddenly. "Show me the recording." Torin, who had dragged Bren halfway to the door, stopped and pulled up his wrist display. He rewound the footage from his suit camera and played it back at quarter speed. Even at quarter speed, Kira was almost too fast to follow. She closed the distance to Bren in 0.4 seconds. Her hands moved in a blur, striking pressure points I did not even know Vrelians had. The rifle disassembly took another 0.6 seconds, each component precisely separated at the connection joints. Then she was back in position. Total elapsed time, 1.2 seconds. "That is impossible," Lix whispered. That cannot be baseline biology." "It is," Kira said. "Want to see my medical scan? No augments, no cybernetics, no genetic engineering. Just a girl from a death world who paid attention during combat training." Combat training. She called that combat training. Like it was normal, like every member of her species could do that. "How many humans are there?" I asked, dreading the answer. Henley smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "On Earth? About 11 billion at last count. In the outer colonies, maybe 50,000 so far, but more are coming. We got FTL technology 30 cycles ago, and we've been expanding ever since." 11 billion. 11 billion creatures who could move like that, fight like that, who were built to survive on a world that made our hazard rating system look like a children's safety guide. "Why did nobody warn us?" I demanded. "Why is this not in the threat assessment databases?" "Oh, it is," Henley said. "It absolutely is. But your intelligence agencies decided that information was too dangerous to share widely. They classified Earth as a Class 9 death world and put it under quarantine observation. They did not want panic. They did not want the galactic community to know that humans are, well, what we are." "And what exactly are you?" Kira tilted her head. And for a moment, I saw something in those brown eyes that made my blood run cold. Not malice, not anger, just calculation, predator arithmetic. "Survivors," she said simply. "Our planet tried to kill us for 3 million years. We are what happened when it failed." Before I could formulate a response that did not sound like terrified gibberish, every alarm on both ships started screaming simultaneously. "Third Keeper." Pael's voice crackled through my comm, distorted by panic. "We have incoming, multiple vessels, Vrex configuration, weapons hot." Vrex pirates. Of course, because this day was not already a complete disaster. I sprinted to the nearest display panel, Henley right behind me. The tactical readout showed 6 ships, heavy raiders closing fast. They had dropped out of FTL practically on top of us, which meant they had been tracking us, waiting for us to be vulnerable. "How many crew do you have?" Henley asked, his voice suddenly all business. 6, including me. You?" 2, us. The math was not encouraging. 8 total against however many raiders those 6 ships carried. Probably 40, maybe 50. Vrex traveled in packs, and they did not take prisoners. They took ship components and anything else they could sell. Organic crew got vented into space. It was efficient, it was brutal, and it had made them the most feared pirates in 5 sectors. "We need to get back to my ship," I said, already moving. "We can outrun them if we disengage now." "You will not make it," Kira said. She was looking at the display with an expression I could not read. "They are already launching boarding pods. See? 4 inbound. Impact in 90 seconds. She was right. Damn her Deathworld eyes, she was right. "Then we fight," I said, pulling my sidearm. It felt pathetically small in my hand. "Torin, Lix, prep for breach. Get Bren to a secure location. Henley, I suggest you and your crew find somewhere to hide." "Hide?" Kira laughed. Actually laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Third Keeper Vin, I have a better idea. How about we make sure these pirates regret every decision that led them to this exact moment?" "You cannot be serious. There are 40 of them." 43, she corrected, still studying the display. "Based on standard Vrex crew complements. Maybe 45 if they are running over capacity." "That is worse?" "Not really." She turned to Henley. "What do you think? Standard dispersal pattern or something creative?" Henley considered for exactly 2 seconds. "Creative. They boarded us after all. Rude not to give them a memorable experience." I stared at them both. They were discussing fighting 43 Vrex pirates the way I might discuss lunch options. Casual, almost bored. "You are insane," I said. "Both of you. Completely insane." "Probably," Kira admitted. "But we are also really, really good at not dying. Henley, you take the aft sections. I will handle forward. Third Keeper, keep your people in the cargo bay and seal the doors. This will get messy." The first impact shuddered through the hull. Boarding pod, magnetically clamped to the outer airlock. Then another. Then 2 more in rapid succession. "Too late to argue," Henley said, pulling what looked like a compact tool from his belt. Except tools did not hum with that particular frequency, and they definitely did not have that kind of edge. "Kira, try not to break anything important. No promises." They moved, both of them, splitting up and heading toward different sections of the ship. I watched them go, these 2 humans from a world that spawned nightmares, walking calmly toward a force that should terrify anyone with functional survival instincts. The airlocks blew. Vrex raiders poured in, armed and armored and ready for slaughter. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Neither did I, but I was about to find out. The screaming started approximately 15 seconds after the Vrex entered the ship. I had sealed my crew in cargo bay 2 like Kira suggested, which gave us camera access to most of the corridor systems. What those cameras showed me was going to require therapy. Expensive therapy. The kind where they chemically suppress specific memories because your brain refuses to process them correctly. Kira had not been exaggerating about the messy part. The first group of Vrex, 8 heavily armored raiders carrying plasma carbines and boarding axes, advanced down the forward corridor in standard breaching formation. Professional. Disciplined. They had done this 1,000 times before. Then Kira dropped from an overhead ventilation shaft directly into the middle of their formation. What happened next lasted maybe 4 seconds. I know because Torin kept rewinding the footage, trying to understand what his eyes were showing him. Kira moved like water, like gravity itself had different rules for her. She used the first raider as a springboard, kicked off his helmet with enough force to send him crashing into 2 of his companions. Grabbed the second raider's weapon, reversed it, fired 3 shots that disabled the corridor lighting. Then she was invisible in the darkness, and the Vrex were stumbling around blind while something with perfect night vision picked them apart one by one. When the emergency lights kicked in 10 seconds later, all 8 raiders were on the ground. Unconscious, disarmed, and arranged in what I can only describe as a very sarcastic pyramid formation. "She's playing with them," Lix whispered, her vocal membranes quivering. "She is actually playing with them." The aft section was somehow worse. Henley did not have Kira's speed, but he had something equally terrifying. Experience. Decades of it. He set traps using the ship's own systems, turned the environment into a weapon. Depressurized sections at exactly the right moment to send raiders tumbling, electrified deck plates, released coolant gas that flash-froze targeting sensors. He fought like someone who had spent his entire life turning disadvantages into tactical advantages. Because he had. Because that was what humans did. They adapted, they overcame, they won. The Vrex kept coming. They were tough, I had to give them that. Heavy gravity worlders themselves, built for endurance and violence. But they were pack hunters used to overwhelming prey with numbers and ferocity. They had never encountered something that hunted back better than they did. Kira met the second wave in the main junction corridor. 12 raiders this time, led by a massive Vrex captain named Weak. I knew him by reputation. 3 meters tall, 400 kilos of muscle and rage, with 60 confirmed kills and a bounty in 7 sectors. He lasted 18 seconds against a 20-year-old human girl. She broke his weapon first, some kind of spinning strike that shattered the plasma rifle's containment chamber. Then she was inside his guard, moving faster than his armored bulk could compensate for, striking points on his body that made his legs buckle. He tried to grab her, those massive clawed hands big enough to crush a skull. And she just was not there anymore. She was behind him, and his own momentum sent him face first into the deck plating hard enough to leave a dent. The other 11 raiders tried to rush her simultaneously. Bad decision. She used their numbers against them, turned the corridor into a kill box, where every attack hit another raider instead of her. Within 30 seconds, it was over. Within 45 seconds, she had zip-tied all of them using their own equipment and was casually checking her knuckles for bruising. Status? Henley's voice crackled over the ship's internal comm. Aft section secure, 19 hostiles restrained. You? Forward section clear. 24 down. I think there are a few more on their command ship. Want me to go get them? There was a pause. Then Henley laughed. Actually laughed. Kira, we are trying to make friends here. Let's not board a pirate vessel and traumatize whoever is left. Spoil sport. I unsealed the cargo bay door on shaking legs. My crew followed, weapons ready, expecting carnage. What we found was 43 Vrex raiders, all alive, all restrained, all looking like they had just experienced a religious revelation about their career choices. Wick was conscious now, leaning against a bulkhead with his hands secured behind him. He looked at me with something I had never seen in Vrex's eyes before. Fear. "What are they?" he asked in heavily accented Galactic common. "What in the name of every void-cursed star are those things?" "Humans," I said simply. "From Earth." "Impossible. Nothing that small moves that fast. Nothing fights like that without augments or combat stimulants." "Baseline biology," I said, and I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. That is just what they are, what they evolved to be. Kira appeared at the end of the corridor, not even breathing hard. "Third Keeper Vin, you should probably call this in. Also, one of your crew needs actual medical attention for those dislocated arms." I was gentle, but Vrelian physiology's trickier than I expected. Gentle. She called that gentle. Henley joined us a moment later, looking only slightly rumpled. "Sorry about the mess. We will help clean up before we leave." "Leave?" I blinked. "Captain Henley, I need you to stay and give a statement. File reports. There are procedures." "We have medicine to deliver, Third Keeper. People are dying while we sit here. Those pirates are secured. Nobody is seriously hurt except their pride, and you have everything recorded on your sensors. That should be sufficient for your reports." He was right. Technically, legally, I could not hold them. They had acted in self-defense. They had not killed anyone, despite having every opportunity and justification. They had actually shown remarkable restraint for people who could apparently dismantle a pirate warband in under 5 minutes. "The locked container," I said. "What was in it?" Henley smiled. "Personal effects, letters from home, photographs. Things that remind us why we left Earth in the first place. Nothing illegal, nothing dangerous. Just memories." I let them go. What else could I do? Arrest them for being too effective at not dying? Charge them with excessive competence? I watched their ship detach and accelerate toward the Outer Haven colony, medical supplies intact. Mission continuing like absolutely nothing unusual had happened. Then I sat down to write my report. The report that was going to change everything. To Galactic Intelligence Command, Outer Rim Division. Subject: Immediate Threat Assessment Upgrade for Species Homo sapiens. Origin World Earth. Classification: Priority Alpha. After direct observation of human combat capabilities, I am formally recommending immediate upgrade to protected species status. Not for their protection, for ours. Earth is not just another death world. It is the death world. Humans are what happens when evolution runs a 3-million-year gauntlet against ice ages, predators, diseases, and planetary extinction events. They are persistence hunters who can track prey for days. They are pack tacticians who conquered an entire planet. They are adaptable survivors who treat environments that would kill most species in hours as moderate inconvenience. And they are about to join the galactic community in significant numbers. We have two choices. We can welcome them as allies and hope they remember our cooperation. Or we can classify them as threats and guarantee they will treat us as obstacles. I strongly recommend the first option, because I have seen what a single human can do when protecting something they care about. I have seen a 20-year-old girl dismantle 43 armed pirates without breaking a sweat. I do not want to see what 11 billion of them can do if we make them angry. Request immediate policy review. Request diplomatic contact protocols. Request someone smarter than me to handle this situation before we accidentally start a war we cannot possibly win. Third Keeper Vin, Orbital Enforcement Guild, signing off. I transmitted the report and leaned back in my chair. Somewhere out there, Kira and Henley were delivering medicine to sick colonists, being heroes, probably not even thinking about the 43 pirates they had casually defeated. And somewhere, in intelligence offices across the galaxy, bureaucrats were about to have a very bad day when they realized their secret was out. Humanity was here. Humanity was dangerous. And most terrifying of all, humanity was friendly. For now. I poured myself a drink. I had earned it. Then I started composing my resignation letter. Because enforcing regulations against humans who could do that? That was not a job. That was a death wish. And I was not stupid enough to take it. 3 months passed after that incident in the Terra Exclusion Zone, and the galaxy changed in ways nobody could have predicted. My report did not just reach Galactic Intelligence Command. It got copied, forwarded, leaked, and spread across every communication network in civilized space. Within 2 weeks, every species with FTL capability knew the truth about humans. The quarantine information, the suppressed threat assessments, the desperate attempts to keep humanity isolated until someone figured out what to do about them. All of it became public knowledge. The panic lasted about 10 days. Then something unexpected happened. The galactic community did not unite against humanity. They competed for human friendship. Trade agreements, defense pacts, cultural exchanges. Every government suddenly wanted humans on their side rather than against them. Because if there is one thing politicians understand better than fear, it is the value of having the scariest species in the room as your ally rather than your enemy. Kira became somewhat famous. Footage of her dismantling those Vrex pirates got analyzed by military academies across 40 star systems. They studied her techniques, her tactics, her terrifying efficiency. Some tried to replicate human combat doctrine. Most gave up after the first simulation. Turns out fighting like a human requires being built like a human, and evolution does not hand out those advantages freely. Henley delivered his medicine, saved about 4,000 lives on Outer Haven Colony. Then he and Kira took another cargo run, and another. Just kept doing their jobs like they had not accidentally triggered the biggest diplomatic reorganization in galactic history. I did not resign. Turns out my experience with human first contact made me valuable. They promoted me, put me in charge of training new officers on proper protocols when dealing with Deathworld species. My first lesson is always the same. Do not point weapons at them unless you are absolutely prepared for what happens next. The Vrex pirates. They actually reformed. 43 career criminals took one look at what humanity could do and decided legitimate commerce was suddenly very appealing. Wyke himself now runs a security consultation business. He gives lectures on threat assessment. His most popular seminar is titled, "Why You Should Never Underestimate Baseline Biology." As for humanity, they keep expanding, slowly, carefully, making friends and trading partners across dozens of worlds. They are friendly, helpful, and genuinely kind, most of the time. But every species in the galaxy now knows the truth. Earth did not just produce survivors. It produced apex predators who chose civilization over conquest. And we are all very, very grateful they made that choice. Because the alternative does not bear thinking about.